Hey there, mathematicians. Miss A back for some more time and graphing. Okay, here's our target for today. I can create picture graphs and solve problems using information from those graphs. So, Mavs, what are graphs and what are picture graphs, mathematicians? What do you already know about graphs? So if you don't already have paper and pencil handy, I want you to grab a piece of paper, or I happen to have a whiteboard. If you happen to have a whiteboard at your house, that's great, but you might not have that. So I want you to grab what you can, and I want you to make a circle map of graphs. I want you to pause the video now, and I want you to spend 2 minutes writing down all the things that you know about graphs. All right, here's what I came up with. What did you come up with? Shows information, a way to show data. I know I've seen graphs that look like this. I know I've seen graphs that look like this. I've seen graphs that look like this and this. Nicely done. Okay, so I want you to keep this in front of you. And while we watch this Brain Pop Junior, I want you to add information about a specific kind of graph. We're going to focus on picto or picture graphs. Sometimes they're called pictographs and sometimes they're called picture graphs. So I'm going to add pictograph to my circle map. Go ahead and do that to yours now. Now I want you to listen in and I want you to add any new learning that you hear during the video.
How many books have you read this month, Moby? I'm making a pictograph that shows how many books people read. Let's see. You read 2 books. What is a pictograph? A pictograph is a graph that organizes and shows information using pictures. The title tells you what the pictograph is about. This graph shows how many books people read. The labels show the names of people and the number of books each person read. This is the key. No, not that kind of key. The key explains what each picture stands for. According to this key, 1 star on the graph stands for 1 book. Count the stars to find out how many books each person read. I read 1, 2, 3 books. Becca read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. Becca is a bookworm. Here's a pictograph that shows people's favorite subjects. What subject do people like best? Each pencil stands for 1 vote. Math got the most votes. 8 people said it was their favorite subject. Which subject got 3 votes? Right, Moby. Social studies got 3 votes. This pictograph shows people's favorite color. Each paintbrush stands for 2 votes. How many people like blue? You can skip count the pictures by 2 to count the votes. 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 people chose blue as their favorite color. How many people chose green as their favorite color? There's half a paintbrush there. Since a whole paintbrush stands for 2 votes, half a paintbrush must stand for 1 vote. So 1 person chose green as their favorite color. Cool, it's lunchtime. How can you make a pictograph? I'm starving. Should I get an apple or a pear? Which fruit do you like best? Let's take a survey about what type of fruit people like best. A survey is a list of questions used to collect information or opinions. You like bananas the best. So do a lot of other kids. You can record information from your survey into a tally chart. You organize tally marks into groups of 5 so they're easier to count. There are 5, 10, 15 tally marks. How many people like pears the best? Start with 5, then count on 2, 6, 7. 7 people like pears the best. You can use information from the tally chart to make a pictograph. First, draw a chart with 2 columns. Write the title and write the choices on the left. Then, create your key and pick a simple picture to stand for your votes. I'm going to use a smiley face. One smiley face will stand for 1 vote. Then, I fill in the pictograph. Since 10 people voted for apples, I draw 10 smiley faces in the graph. 7 people liked pears, so I draw 7 smiley faces in the graph. 2 people voted for grapes. 6 people voted for bananas. Pictographs help organize and show data or information so you can understand it better. Which fruit got the most votes? Apple. How many more votes did pears get than grapes? 5 more people voted for pears than grapes. You can also show the same information in a different way. Whoa, Moby, that's a lot of fruit. Are you going to share? Thanks, Moby.
All right, mathematicians. So what's something new that you added to your circle map that you did not know before the brain pop? I added quite a few things. I added that a pictograph has a title, it has a key, you can survey to get information, then you show that data in a pictograph and you organize that information. I also learned a pictograph uses pictures and symbols, and that you can read information from it. It can help you answer questions. You can look at that data to answer questions. I think those are all my new things. I use the word data. I heard that a couple times. So a pictograph is definitely a way that we can organize data and information that we collect. I want you to make sure to tell someone near you or call someone on the phone or FaceTime someone and tell them what you've learned about a pictograph today. So what is a pictograph? We talked about it's a way of organizing our information. What information do you want to make sure to include in your pictograph? So that was some of the new learning I had for myself. You want to make sure there's a title. You want to make sure there's a key so you know what each picture means, right? And then you want to make sure that data matches the survey information that you collected. All right, now let's go through the steps that you need to create a pictograph. So I have this information. These are 3 students that I used to teach, and they all brought a pocket of pennies to school when we were learning about money. Maya brought 8 pennies, Anthony brought 5 pennies, and Sonia had 2 pennies. So if I were to show that information just using a dot, I just want to use a dot for my symbol. I could use pennies, I could use tally marks, I could use stars, but I'm just going to use a dot to represent pennies. And I decided I'm going to do a horizontal. Show me horizontal with your arm. Now show me vertical. Show me horizontal. Show me vertical. Show me vertical. Show me vertical. Show me horizontal. Nice. I decided I'm going to do a horizontal pictograph. So I'm going to put Maya's information horizontally here. I'm going to put Anthony's information horizontally here. And I'm going to put Sonia's information horizontally here. And I want you to think to yourself, what should my information look like? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Does that match the information that we have up here? So here's our information, and here's a way that we can represent or show that data. We can show Maya has 8 because next to the M that stands for Maya, there's 8 pennies. Okay, now we know Anthony has 5 pennies, so how many red dots are we going to use to represent Maya's 5 pennies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that match our data up here? It sure does. All right, last one. Sonia, do the 2 dots match our data up here? Absolutely. So now what else do we need? What are we missing here? We learned that it needs a title. So let's go ahead and add a title. What would be a title that makes sense? How many pets these friends have? No. What would be a title that makes sense? Pennies. Pennies matches. That makes sense to me. Now, we also need a key. A key, just like a map key, tells us what something means. So 1 red dot means what, mathematicians? What did we learn? 1 red dot equals 1 penny. Now, on some pictographs, that red dot might mean 2 pennies or 5 pennies or 10 pennies. On our graph that we made today, 1 red dot equals 1 penny. Do we have a title? Do we have a key that tells us what each picture means? And does our data here match the data that we started with? It sure does. All right. Now let's look at this data that we have. Pat has 4 pennies, Dave has 2 pennies, Lloyd has 5 pennies, and Carla has 9 pennies. Now last time, excuse me, we made a horizontal pictograph. I can already tell because I see letters down here that if the P stands for Pat, the D stands for Dave, the L stands for Lloyd, and the C stands for Carla, I can already infer, I think this pictograph's going to go this way. Do you remember what that's called? That's right, vertical. So we are going to make a vertical pictograph this time. Let's see if we can represent that data accurately. Pat has 4 pennies, Dave has 2, Lloyd has 5 pennies, Carla has 2. Now, do we have everything we need? We do have a title this time. What else is missing? That's right, our key. So let's add our key in. We know that 1 of these red dots equals 1 penny. Again, now if you're talking about fruit, you might say that 1 banana equals 1 piece of fruit. If you are talking about people, you might say 1 stick figure equals 1 person. So it's really important that you read the keys carefully when you are reading the graphs. All right, now when the lines go this way, it's called a horizontal graph. When the lines are vertical like this one, it's called a vertical graph. Nicely done. Let's look at this graph together and see what we can answer. So I'm noticing the key here shows that 1 person, oh, it's kind of hard to see, 1 picture equals 1 person. So if I look at the title, What can you tell about this pictograph? Look at the labels, the categories, and the title. That's right. This pictograph is of a group of kids and the different ways they get to school. Nicely done. I can tell that by looking at the title and looking at the categories. Ways of getting to school. One way kids get to school is the bus. Another way is the car. Another way is the cycle, like a bicycle. And another way is on foot. Now I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to tell me, whisper it to me, I can hear you through the computer. What is the answer? So first question, how many total kids did Miss A interview or survey? How many total kids did I survey and ask how they get to school? How many total kids all together did I ask and survey for how they get to school? That's right, 20. How did you figure that out? Well, if I add up my total bus plus my total car plus my total bicycle and my total foot, I get the total number of kids that I surveyed. Every single symbol is one kid because that's what our key tells us. So if I put all those numbers together, that's my total. I see 7 kids here, plus 4, plus 6, plus 3. I added those up in my head. I did a little bit of counting. I did some finding some friendly numbers, and I figured out there's a total of 20 kids who were surveyed. How many kids ride the car to school? How many kids ride the car to school every day? That's right. 4 kids ride in the car to get to school every day. All right, you ready for a tricky one? How many more kids ride their bicycle than ride in the car? How many more kids ride their bicycle than ride in the car? Well, let's see. They're tied here, tied here, tied here, tied here. There's no more kids that ride in the car, but I see 2 more that ride their bicycle. So this number is 2 bigger or 2 greater than this number. So there are 2 more kids who ride their bicycle to school than who ride in a car. Nicely done. You can ask and answer all types of questions from pictograph data. It's a really fun way to represent and show data you've collected and to answer questions. Okay, let's look at this one. This one we saw on our brain pop. I'm noticing as I look at the title and the key that this pictograph is about kids' favorite fruit. So these kids were surveyed about which fruit is their favorite. How many kids like bananas? That's right, 6 kids like bananas. How many kids like bananas and grapes? How many kids like bananas and grapes? 6 banana kids, 2 grape kids. That's right, 8 kids like bananas and grapes. How many more kids, remember this tricky one? How many more kids like pears? Because I can see pears is a little bit longer than bananas. How many more kids like pears than bananas? They're tied here, tied here, tied here, tied here, tied here, tied here. Oh, I see 1 more in the pear category than the banana category. So that means 1 more kid likes pears than bananas. 1 more likes pears than bananas. All right, now Mavs, you're gonna go practice a little bit more reading, interpreting, and making pictographs on your own. So here are your choices. If you have your homework book handy, and it looks like this, you are going to go to page 141 and 142 for some extra practice. If you don't have your homework book handy or you'd like additional practice, you are going to go to page 231. Now, this one is just a letter to your family. So I have a challenge for you. If you're up for it and you're ready, I want you to come up with a survey or a question that you could ask the people in your house. You could call some friends, you could call some family members, you could survey them. And I want you to collect that data and see if you can turn it into your very own pictograph. So for example, I am going to plan a fun family activity when we're all allowed to get out of our house. And so I'm going to call my brothers and sisters and I'm going to see if they want to go to a movie, if they want to go to a restaurant, or if they want to play board games at our house when we're all able to get together and have a fun night. So I'm going to call and ask them these questions. Would you prefer to do a movie, go to a restaurant, or play board games together once we are all able to have a family night? As I call and answer, I'm going to collect my data with tally marks. My sister Bree said movie. She loves movies. When I called my sister Danielle, she said restaurant because she is super social and she loves any chance she can to chat. When I called my brother Austin, he also said movies. I called my mom and she said board games. She's a huge game player. Then I asked Parker and he also said board games. Cody said movie. My husband said restaurant. And my dad also said movie. So now I have enough data to create my own pictograph. And I think I'm going to create a horizontal one with my 3 categories here: movie, restaurant, board game. I'm going to write my title here, what we will do. And I'm going to make my key down here. Each star equals 1 person. So go ahead and give it a try. Come up with a fun survey question, gather and collect data from your family members and people you can call on the phone, and see if you can turn it into a pictograph. I know you can do it. You got this, mathematicians. See you next time.